Good evening, everyone. So today I'll start with this topic, cloud computing. Uh, I have given one, tag line for this to understand it better. So this is actually unleashing limitless potential in the digital skies. So right now we are living in a digital era, right? And we have, limitless possibilities to grow as an individual as well as an organization. So in this digital era, everything we want to be, get digitized, right? Every operation, every process, everything. Now, in this digital era, there is a huge, demand of computation, storage, right? These are few of the factors which I am right now talking about. So, to enable us limitlessly for these type of demands, the cloud computing is one of the factor or one of the technology which is actually enabling this, right? Now, moving next to this, what are the components at the higher level? 10,000 feet, explanation of the cloud computing, the clients, server, and the network infrastructure, right? So, cloud computing is delivery of the computing services. So, delivering the computing services like servers, storage. So, for computing anything, right? You are doing any computation. Let's suppose for an example, I take an example of adding two numbers. It's also a compute, right? Having a big programs, having multiple, transactions happening in that program is again required computing power. You need server to execute, need storage to save the files, right? The information which that program needs. So, the cloud computing is the delivery of these computing powers through services, right? And again, over the internet. It is the most important part of this. Over the internet, you are getting all these services. Earlier, what used to happen is when you are, building an organization, you have to create a infrastructure for yourself. Infrastructure which consists of servers, which consists of, huge storage, right? Networking of those servers, correct? Databases, lot of softwares, and to build the analytics on those servers, you have to write your applications for building that, right? Intelligence, all this was happening on prem, so you have to invest a lot of to start with. But the cloud enables all these services over the internet. It's a simplified definition of the cloud, right? Now, consumer typically pay as it is being used, right? So you are using what sort of computing power, what sort of storage, what sort of database, you will be paid for that only, right? Whatever you are using, you are getting to paid for that. So it's a paid service, you can say. All these are paid service in cloud computing. Simplified form of for understanding the cloud computing. Now, let's move ahead on this. What are the top benefits which cloud came up with, right? Cost, speed. Cost, cloud computing eliminates the capital expense which I just mentioned. So, as soon as you planning to start your own venture or own business, so you have to have the capital expenditure earlier era, right? So it was difficult to decide on at what is a good time to invest such type of such kind of money initially to burn out, right? So that benefit to reduce that cost of the upfront investment is the primary benefit of using the cloud computing. One of the primary benefit, right? Speed. Again, you are building everything from the scratch, as I just mentioned, which used to happen in the early era, you can say, the speed. You are responsible for your speed. You are responsible for the speed of your business, right? But now they are a provider who gives you guarantee for the speed, right? So the cloud providers. So the most cloud computing services are provided self-services and on demand. So even vast amounts of computing resources can be provisioned in the minutes. So you want to provision any new server, if you are getting more requests, more transactions requests, I would say, from your customers. So the same time you can provision the computing power for yourself, just on the click, because it is available over the internet. So that is how it is giving the benefit of speed. Next is the global scale. The benefits of cloud computing services includes the ability to scale elastically. So on this, it has a global infrastructure, not the local to yourself. It has a global infrastructure. So think about the computing you are getting over the internet globally, right? So it has a scale of elasticity globally. And in cloud speak, that means delivering the right amount of IT resources. For example, more or less computing power, storage, bandwidth. So all these things which are again and again repeated on this in this slide is related to storage, computing power, and the bandwidth which is required to run a business, right? So cloud works on the global scale. Productivity would be very high because there is you have things on the click, right? So on-site data centers typically require a lot of racking and stacking. So if you have seen a typical server room, you will find a stacks of servers in those server rooms, right? Hardware setup is required, software patching is required everywhere, right? So it reduces the productivity because at what time you might be able to scale in your business. At that time you are doing these sort of stuff like patching your servers, setting up those servers, making every effort to make them up and running, right? So it reduces the productivity. But in case of cloud, you offloaded this responsibility to the cloud providers. They are the one who are actually doing all this stuff for you. So this is again one of the top benefit of the cloud computing. Correct. Performance. The biggest cloud computing services run on worldwide network of secure data centers, which are regularly upgraded to the latest generation of the fast and efficient computing hardwares. So for an example, if I just want to give you an example. So the fastest storage which we usually see is the SSD, right? Now there are two types of storage. Categorically, I am saying HDD and SSD. If you are owning a company, to move from HDD to SSD requires a huge cost, and that decision you have to take while building your infrastructure. But when you are using cloud, the cloud provider already take care of all these things because they used to work on the latest platforms which are required to give you the more versatility in terms of versatility and the performance in terms of the infrastructure. So they take care of that. So it is again a fast and efficient way. The performance is very high in the cloud computing, in the cloud computing infrastructures, right? Reliability. So most of the cloud providers claim that 99.9% they are up and running. So reliable factor is always there when you are opting for the cloud computing. Security, because since the cloud provider itself are taking care of all the security patches to be installed on your computing resources, security is always, is very high. This term is debatable because if it is not used wisely by you when you are, consuming the cloud computing services, and you have, left with some loophole while using that, then probably you will be insecure in that case. So it is again a debatable topic, but if you are using it wisely, according to the guidance which is provided by the cloud provider, then your system will be, highly secure in that case, right? Next, what are the types of cloud computing? Majorly 3 types: public, private, and hybrid. These are the 3 types of cloud computing. We'll go one by one. And before moving towards the services or the types of the cloud, let's talk about the services provided by the cloud. So the categorization of the services is based on these 3. Typically the categorization is done in these type of services: infrastructure as a service. The full name of this is infrastructure as a service, this is platform as a service, and this is software as a service. We'll go one by one what are these services are, but before that, let's understand the different types of clouds, right? And this is the service level diagram. Before understanding about the different types of cloud, let's understand at this service level who is responsible for what if you are going for the cloud computing infrastructure. So earlier in traditional IT, where we were managing our data center, right, all the things including the networking, storage, servers, virtualization of your computing resource, operating system installation on those virtual machines, right, middleware, runtime, data, applications, all these were managed by you in the traditional IT. Typically when you are creating a data center for yourself, for your business. But if you are using infrastructure as a service, which I just talked about in the last slide, infrastructure as a service of cloud, this is the service of the cloud by the cloud providers, right? So now if you are using this service, all these 3 things will be delivered as a service to you by the cloud providers. What is that? Networking, storage, servers, virtualization, and operating system. So the operating system, virtualization on that operating system, this servers, what type of server it is, right? It is Windows server or Linux server, or what type of server it is, right? Storage, what type of storage you would require, networking, all these things will be provided to you as a service by the cloud provider, and you have to manage your applications, your data, your runtime for your application, right? So maybe you are creating the Java based application, maybe you are creating the .NET based application, or any other type of platform which you are using. Now all these things you have to manage, but other things like this one, these 5 things are being provided to you, delivered to you as a service by the cloud provider. Now if you go with platform as a service from the cloud provider, then you have to manage only your application and the data. Rest everything, including the runtime, middleware, operating system, virtualization, servers, storage, and networking, are managed by the cloud provider itself. So as soon you are moving your ladder from infrastructure to platform, everything apart from applications and data is managed by the cloud provider. Now in case of software as a service, everything including the application is being taken care by you. You are just a consumer of that software. So that's why it is software as a service. You can take an example of Office 365. You are not doing anything in that. You are just registering your organization, and everything you are getting in the browser itself. and everything has been taken care by these, where your mails will be kept, where everything is been taken care by the storage for your mails, and everything related to that software is being taken care by the cloud providers. So that's the major difference of in using all the services provided by the cloud providers. Okay, let's move on. Public cloud, different types of cloud. I talked about three types of cloud. One is public, second is private, and third one is the hybrid. Public cloud. The public cloud refers to cloud computing environment that is owned and operated by a third party cloud services provider. So I just simply go with this definition. So it is the computing environment is owned by the third party provider. So what are those third party providers? Talk about the brands here. Google has the GCP, right? Microsoft has Azure, right? IBM has IBM Cloud, right? And who tops the list is AWS by Amazon. So all these are the cloud providers, and these cloud providers are the public clouds. I'll talk about these providers as a private cloud also. They give their services as a private cloud also, but majorly these providers are lies in the boundary of the public cloud providers. In public cloud, these resources are shared among multiple users. You can say tenants. So these users are called tenants in terms of cloud, right? So all the resources are shared between multiple clients or users, you can say, right? So when I say resources, means storage, compute, everything you can think of is now shared by multiple users, right? In public cloud. While what are the characteristics of the public cloud? Accessibility. Public cloud services are accessible over the internet. Since cloud is over the internet, right, allowing users to access computing resources remotely from anywhere with the internet connection. You just need to have internet connection and you will access your resources. So when I say resources, again, computing means server computation, CPU, right? Storage means your hard disk, SSD, right? As well as your RAM. All these things you are getting over the internet, right? Shared resources. So resources in the cloud. Every time when I am talking about resources, that means I am talking about compute, storage, and other stuffs, right? Other services. So all these resources in the public cloud are shared by the multiple users. So it enables the cost efficiency, right? Cost efficiency and scalability. And users only pay for the resources they consume. So it is a rented model, right? Public cloud is a rented model. Scalability. Public cloud are designed to scale horizontally. So there are two different aspects of scale. So one is vertical and second is horizontal. So public cloud are designed to scale horizontally, right? At any point of time, if you want a server to be spawn up, you can do it, at the same time when it is required. You can provision it at the same time when it is required, right? So it is allowing user to scale up and down based on their computing needs. So you have a capability to scale up as well as scale down. At some point of time, you need lesser compute resources. So there you can scale down, your computing resources, right? And why we are doing it? To handle the variety of workloads. As I just told, maybe at some point of time you need multiple, servers to have your computing fast. But at the same time, when the workload is less, you can, reduce your compute power, right? So this comes under the, scalability. Now, key characteristics of a public cloud. Few more key characteristics. Pay as you go. Means for you will be billed for only that thing which you are using, right? So public cloud services often operate on a pay as you go or subscription based pricing model. Users are billed for the resources they use, right? Promoting cost effectiveness and flexibility, right? Multi-tenancy, as I just talked about, multi-user support of the resources which are governed by the cloud providers. So cloud providers are the one who are owners of those compute resources, or you can storage resources. So, and they are sharing those resources with multiple users, or you can say companies. So multi-tenancy. Popular public cloud service provider includes, I just mentioned about this, Amazon Web Services from Amazon, Azure from Microsoft, and GCP from Google. And there is one more, IBM Cloud, right? And the most growing, you can say, cloud providers nowadays are Amazon Web Services, Azure, and the GCP. These are the three top most cloud providers. Now talk about the private cloud. A private cloud refers to a cloud computing environment that is dedicated to a single organization. Now, let's suppose at some point of time you do not want the resources to be shared with the other users or organizations. So there you need a and you want that elasticity in your provisioning. So what type of cloud you can use there? You can use the private cloud there. So all the storage and the networking infrastructure are exclusively for a particular customer, right? Though it will also you will get over the internet, since it's a private cloud, so it is the resources will be restricted for only for that particular client, right? And let us understand, the public cloud also provide the private cloud services. Public cloud providers also provide the private cloud services for the organization. I'll talk about that in coming lectures. So where the concept of the VPC comes, right? There the public cloud provider give you an impression of having your own resources, and you in your territory no one can come. So all those resources will be exclusively for you, right? Unlike a public cloud where resources are shared among the multiple tenants. So we'll talk about the other clouds in the coming lectures. Thank you very much.